we shouldn't experience lag or delays.
Nah, I think we'll be fine. I hear you good. Um, Everybody, if y'all can hit us in the chat. Tran, do you have your chat open to where we can?
Pulling it up right now.
All right, perfect. I'm gonna hit record on here too, so I can get some of the clips for the post for the folks that miss us. Let me put the phone on mute. Y'all hit us up in the chat. Let's do roll call real quick. Who's here? And if you're here, hit that like button. Moose said everything sound good. Matt Myers was good, my friend. Dallas, what's going on? Myers, how are you in Madrid doing? Hopefully y'all are hanging in there well. Are curious to hear y'all's opinions coming back to school and whatnot. I missed everything. Hopefully you guys are safe. Nathan's here. Peter the Great. What's going on, guys? Tran, how you hanging, man? I see the room coming along. It looks good, my friend.
Slowly but surely. But yeah, so it's coming along. It seems like we're gonna have to hunker down for a little while longer before we can actually do in-person ones, which I actually can't wait for.
Jackie Scott said he driving to Temple, so appreciate y'all. Be safe out there and listening in. But I see you guys checking in, chat's going in. So in the midst of, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I'm going to share my screen a little bit later because some of the college football publications that I follow, Athlon Sports, College Football News, are starting to come out or have come out with some of their all Big 12 teams. And I have some thoughts, especially around our guys. And I think it'd be easier just to share my screen and kind of go through some of the teams or some of the folks from the different Big 12 teams that they have on there and see where our guys fall. We'll obviously touch on DeMarvion Overshown and the big news from him sitting out this week. And I do want to start, though, with some of the COVID stuff because I just read an article today. There seems to be a lot of momentum trend building around the push to move football to the spring, especially among, Florida, I believe, had their highest number of cases today, over 11,000. Now, obviously, with more testing, you're going to have more positive cases. So those two things go hand in hand. And but as everyone's trying to get a hold of this and see how the most safest way for the athletes to compete, for us to get football and to make sure that, nobody's lives are in jeopardy, how do you see things playing out? Because you mentioned this a couple months ago about things possibly getting pushed to spring from, I think it was just one of your ideas you were throwing out there.
I think it all comes back to economics. It all comes back to monetary reasons. They see if they actually have a season open on time, the highest amount of revenue they'll generate from ticket sales are going to be only 50% capacity. So if they say, hey, let's delay it to the spring or till after the winter session, winter break or anything like that, they're gonna have more visualization to maybe a vaccine to this, and they can actually have full stadiums, and they won't have to shorten it down to just a conference schedule, as opposed, because they're missing out on a lot of revenue. Just think of the Texas LSU game, how much revenue that's going to pull in. The TV buys and everything like that that's going to come in. So I mean, they're thinking of it more so monetarily. So if that's the way that they're going to do it, I mean, it's actually kind of a smart move, to tell you the truth.
So I just saw Darius's comment, and before I get to Darius' comment, Matt Myers, I appreciate you checking in, man, and hopefully we get to see some Texas Platinum, even if y'all do some stuff remotely. But sounds like he says hoping classes will be in person in the fall. See my little bros in here from Maryland. We'll have to talk about a particular player from the DMV that committed to Oklahoma yesterday from our area. But Darius made a good point. He said spring ball sounds good to me. Best chance for football not to be shut down mid-season. I think that's one of the big things here right now. If we kick off on time, what is the plan for if an outbreak happens on a particular team, right? And or amongst different teams or within a conference or within a region. And then I don't want to do the thing. We're here in Texas, right? Where we start back up and we get all this momentum and then things get shut down again versus, maybe we wait and maybe waiting. I don't know if we'll have a vaccine or whatever. I feel like the more I watch and the more I listen to people, the more I realize nobody knows what they're talking about.
Let's be honest. Are you going to take the first vaccine?
Oh no.
Okay, there you go. So I'll take maybe the third generation.
Oh man. And I mean, dude, you don't know what's in that thing. I mean,
No.
Look, I mean, if I feel like we're going down the tinfoil hat rabbit hole, right? Let's see, everybody's checking in. We're talking COVID right now, and if season's going to start on time and things of that sort. Because as each week goes by, and players are getting tested, and they're trying to, all these teams. That's the other thing too. These colleges have different means. There's no standard way across all the platforms, whether it's conferences or whatever, for protocol yet, because this is new. And as we saw at the University of Texas, what they were doing was very, very different from what the University of Houston was doing. And so I think they're going to have to lay down some ground rules too on certain levels of protocol. And I think also monitoring what other sports do. I think with the NBA coming back, it's funny. I was ESPN today. I was looking at the basketball tournament, and a lot of those brothers out there look very, very out of shape. And but it was like 24 pickup, right? No disrespect to some of those guys, but they didn't look like they were in the best of shape. COVID had gotten the best of them. But I was watching them perform, and it was interesting because the setting looked fine on TV, to be honest with you. And so I'm like, okay. And they were kind of showing us all the rigorous testing and all the precautions they've had. And I think that's cool. But the thing with football is you have a lot more people you're dealing with, and you have your equipment staff. And so I think it'll be interesting, but I think football will also be able to take some notes. Baseball starting up. How are they kind of having them go first? They can learn some things, I feel like, Tran.
Yeah, but you also you have to take that with a grain of salt with baseball, because they can social distance easily with that. Football, it's a collision sport. People are touching people. People are breathing on people. Snot and spit are flying all over the place. Sweat's flying all over the place. So you can't really contain that. One of the things they probably should look at is more so the success in the testing that the UFC has had so far. They have been able to catch. I mean, even UFC 251 got the main event got canceled or rebooked because the headliner caught COVID.
Oh, Gilbert Burns.
Yeah, Gilbert Burns.
Yeah, and I mean they got Masvidal now,
yeah, which is a better fight, I think.
Which is a better fight. I agree with Usman, but no, they've been doing a great job. But they got smaller camps, right? I mean, it's your cut man, your striking trainer, your grappling person, and then the overall cardio guy, right? So it's like 5 of y'all, and then your nutritionist maybe if they're involved. But
yeah, but I'm talking in terms of when they run camps, they run it with tons of people. So they have access to a ton of people that could carry it asymptomatically, and they could spread it like wildfire. So that's where I'm coming from, because I think that's closer biomechanically or athletically to football than baseball would be.
I rather, if we start on time, I don't want them to they need to have a plan in place. They can't and it's so difficult with this thing, right? Because every time we think we're over a particular hill or hurdle, then something else pops up. But if they start on time, it has to be, you're starting with everything from all your data and all the research you've done, that the chances of us having to shut down midseason will be slim, right? Like that. And if you don't have that level of assurance, then push the season back, in my opinion.
So are they, because I don't think they would actually compete against basketball, to tell you the truth, the NCAA tournament. You think they would kick off after the NCAA tournament?
Like April.
Yeah.
I could see them doing that. I wouldn't have a problem with that, to be honest with you.
I would actually love that.
I wouldn't have a
to
problem
tell you
with
the
that,
truth.
because then I feel like the season, at least we will get full football. That's what I'm about. I want full. I don't want to start the thing and then it's like we're getting ready to go to LSU, and then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose, and we got.
I also don't want to rush out a product and then see a lot of injuries, because they haven't had the camps, the setting camps or anything like that. And when people just come back too fast, they get injured too fast too.
So that's very interesting as well, because there's a split side to that. So Tom Herman actually brought this up a while ago when he mentioned, hey, the old way kind of used to be we didn't do much of anything between. Granted, you did still had spring ball, but like you kind of had players were off on their own doing whatever, and then they would come back for camp right before the season and then go into the season. Obviously, that has changed with all of the summer workouts and the things that the players are able to do to make sure they're in the best physical shape as possible. But he's like, hey, we used to do it this way. So us moving back there isn't something we haven't seen before per se in our sport. But it also puts everything, all the onus is personal responsibility on the players, in my opinion. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, and some guys just won't push themselves as hard if they're not around the team on their own. Some guys will. Some guys are obviously, people are working out with trainers and all the whole. It's a business, and I understand that. But some of these smaller schools or smaller programs, like my cousin has to report tomorrow or Tuesday, and he's a JUCO guy. But it's just really interesting how, and I'm going to monitor his situation too, just to see, like, because they're the only ones that are going to be back at the school.
Right.
And so how are they working? Like, how is that all happening? His testing situation, those are all things we'll have to monitor. I'm just checking in on the comments. Yeah, OU had a big day yesterday. No doubt about it. I mean, we knew both of those guys, Latrell and Caleb Williams, were heavy OU leans, but they got them both on the 4th. Hopefully y'all had a good July 4th yesterday. I'm sorry I didn't ask you about that, Tran, and the kids, but just with all the craziness going on, I think OU jumped from like 31st to like 14th, or right outside the top 10. When you land, two of the best players in the country like that, it's a big deal. So we'll touch on those guys. Let's see what else we got going on here. I do want to, the thing I want to do, I want to segue over to just talking ball again in the Big 12, the preseason, all Big 12 teams. So off the top of your head, Tran, in your opinion, offense, defense, who would you say from a Texas standpoint should be represented all Big 12 first team going in 2020?
Joseph Osai.
Okay.
I know you're going to a lot of people are going to give me crap about Sam Ehlinger, because I've been a Sam Ehlinger fan, but to tell you the truth, I mean, if we're going, because they go off of a lot of last year's production, and he had great production last year, but Brock Purdy was the second team, all Big 12 quarterback. And I think you can't just take away his place preseason, because honestly, preseason doesn't mean anything. I would rather our team be all second team, just to light a fire under them all.
Yeah.
Honestly, but
that's the interesting way to look at it. I don't want anybody to make first team.
Yeah.
That way everybody's pissed off.
That is preseason.
Preseason. I don't want anybody to make first.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think a lot of people are going Sam Ehlinger over Brock Purdy just because of the Mike Yurcich factor. and how we saw things kind of end with the bowl game, in Sam's last two games, the second half against Texas Tech, then the bowl game against Utah. Yes, Brock Purdy did finish second team all Big 12 quarterback and was phenomenal with a crew that they had to kind of put together over the course of the season. And if you think about the returning connections, I would put like Spencer Saunders and Tylan Wallace, and then Brock Purdy and Charlie Kohler right there. And Charlie Kohler is going to probably be first team All-American tight end.
I'm an idiot. I forgot about Sam Cosmi. Sorry about that.
No, I'm saying.
Yeah, I forgot about him for first team.
Yeah. My chat is. Are you getting chats up to speed? My chat, I think, is going slow.
I think it got frozen. Last one I'll still take our crop of QBs over OUs any day.
Okay.
Oh no, it's not going. It's going.
So what I was saying though is, I think you would have Ellinger, Cosmi at left. I think Cosmi's a shoe-in for first team.
Yeah. I completely. That's my fault. I completely.
Right. Yeah, Cosmi's going to be a shoe-in. Sam, I think, will get the edge. Him being Texas, right? Like, he's going to get the. Let's just be honest. Like, it's easier to sell magazines if Sam Ellinger is the first team.
Yeah, of course.
All Big 12 quarterback, whether it's justified over Brock Purdy or not. I think Joseph Osai. Now, I did think it's interesting because I've seen some publications have him already as first team Big 12, and then some that don't. And I don't understand the folks that they had listed at linebacker ahead of him. It didn't make any sense to me, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I think the interesting one for me personally, I would have Caden Stearns as first team. Now, I know a lot of people don't, and I haven't seen him lower than second team, but I would have Caden Stearns, a healthy Caden Stearns first team, especially with the Chris Ash adjustment, him being healthy. And what he has shown when he has been healthy at the University of Texas, he has shown he can be an elite player.
No, I get that. And
the production is there. There's a lot of upside as well for Deshaun Jameson. Let me get ready to share my screen here. You can touch on that. But the four that I've seen consistently were Ellinger, Cosmi, Osai, and actually Deshaun Jameson instead of Caden Stearns. But I actually would be higher on Caden Stearns being first team all Big 12. I'm going to bring up the Athlon Sports one here. Give me one sec.
So one of the ones that I sent a screenshot to you earlier was it today or was it yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
They left off Derek Kerstetter altogether. And I saw a stat that showed him he was the highest producing pass protecting returning starter this year from last year, even ahead of Cosmi. So I don't understand why he isn't even on the second team list.
I think people are having trouble with Kerstetter, and I'm going to get to this because it's interesting. I think people are having trouble with Kerstetter because
he doesn't have a set spot.
He doesn't really have a set position.
Yeah.
So on the Athlon Sports one, they had him. I don't know why they did 4 teams, but they did 4 teams, I believe, and they had him third team center. But if you're are there 6 or 7 linemen better in the conference than Derek Kerstetter?
No.
The problem is, though, that his production is at tackle, and he's probably not going to play tackle.
Yep.
So you're not going to put him over Creed Humphrey at center. So that's where some of the confusion comes into play for Derek Kerstetter and where he falls from a preseason perspective. So is the chat going?
Yeah.
Okay. So this came out actually last month, but we haven't gotten a chance to talk about it. So I'm getting this together here. It's crazy. I had the link up, and then when I started this chat, I closed it. So this is one that was interesting. So this is actually the college football news one. I don't know if anybody actually pays any attention to it, but I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Can you see?
Yep.
So they have Sam Ellinger as first team QB.
QB1. Yep.
QB1, which I'm fine with. Samuel Cosme here. Creed Humphrey would be the center. Obviously, you can't put.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Agree with Chuba and Puka.
Now they don't have an all-purpose back here. So some have had Puka all-purpose. Kennedy Brooks is the other running back. Wide receiver 2 is the one that's been controversial. And I'm curious to see how that breaks out, because Parchment was the most productive I've seen of the guys coming back that would be eligible for that. Athlon Sports had Charleston Rambo there, because if you think about he's going to be wide receiver at 1 at OU now. And he had over 7. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't even be surprised if they put that. Who's the guy who transferred from LSU to Oklahoma State? Who's that kid? I can't think.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. D. Anderson.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he would sneak onto one of these lists.
So that goes into the newcomer, and that's where Bijan Robinson could be Big 12 newcomer of the year. Somebody like Anderson from LSU. So this is where I had an issue. I don't know how you can put Garrett. So all these TCU people, and this is something I don't understand. Like, TCU had 2 people go in the first round. They have these people here on this all Big 12 list. How are they 5-7 last year? All these dudes getting all this love. I don't understand this. And like Garrett Waller is a good player. He had like 120 tackles last year, but he did not have the same type of impact. He's not the same type of football player as Joseph Osai. Period.
Nope.
Period. I mean, I'll give you a pass on Bernard. I would actually take Joseph Osai over any of these 3 guys, but the Garrett Waller thing just is like.
I don't mind the Still brothers right there, Stills brothers up there. I don't mind that even over my boy Coburn, but I don't think Coburn was even on the second team from what I saw from the one that I looked at.
So they have Stills as the preseason Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, Darius Stills.
I won't argue with that.
So I think that's interesting. And then we go to the specials. Dylan Stoner is going to get another year because they gave him a red shirt for 2016. Although I'd actually make a strong case for Deshaun Jameson as punt return. I think he's going to be dynamite on punt return this year. Youngblood is a no-brainer for kick return. Gabe Burkage is a no-brainer for. I'm not. These
Dylan Stoner is 85 years old. Why is he still on there?
Man, the man's as old as us, man. Still getting it done at Oklahoma State. I'm right there with you. But college football news, not giving any love to. I don't think they had a second team. They didn't give any love to my man Joseph Osai, and I'm upset about that.
Yep.
I think Joseph Osai is a Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year candidate.
I do too.
Especially
I think he'll be in the if he stays healthy. If he stays healthy,
he'll be used correctly.
Yeah.
So I'm not understanding. I'm not understanding that. Let's pass. So I'm gonna get caught up on the comments here because I agree. Keaontay Ingram needs to be at least on the second team. I'll find the Athlon Sports one in a second here, guys. But appreciate that, Bill. Keaontay Ingram needs to be up there. Unless it's the Bijan Robinson video that comes out of he looks like an athletic freak. I don't know if we even touched on that the last live chat, but from a production standpoint, I don't know how many of you guys watched my Mac Brown video at North Carolina, but they had 2 running backs, Javonte Williams and Michael Carter, who were Javonte Williams like 990 yards rushing last year, and then Michael Carter was over 1,000. So they somehow figured out how to get all these touches for multiple dudes, right? And then they had two receivers in Daz Newsome and De'Ami Brown, who were both over 1,000 yards and both over 10 touchdowns. And then the tight end was over 600 yards. So they somehow got everybody fit. And my thing is, and that's why I'm going to the Mike Yurcich thing. I think with him trying to run more plays, and hey, let's try to run 90 plays every game, because then everybody's going to get their touches. But when we're in the situation where, you know, we have one person over 1,000 yards and they're getting all the love, and then next guy's at like 500 or 600 yards, we're not going to get the love in any of these type of polls or anything like that to move our guys forward.
That's why I don't care about preseason. It's like, let's fill it out. Let's fill it out at the end of the year.
All right. So, Darius, so I see a lot of talk in the chat here about Caleb Williams. So I'm from DC, and DC is definitely a basketball area. However, the WCAC conference that Gonzaga plays in, Gonzaga is the high school that Caleb Williams attends. The WCAC conference is no joke, okay? St. John's, there's 3 schools in there that were nationally ranked high school football programs. And Good Counsel, who you will see once a year on ESPN. You'll see DeMatha once a year on ESPN. And then Gonzaga's been down a little bit over the last few years, but they did win the WCAC in 2018, led by Caleb Williams. They didn't win last year. I think Good Counsel won last year. But that whole, and then St. John's is in there too. That whole conference is no joke. St. John's played Duncanville this year. They came to Texas to play Duncan. So these schools travel. These are all, it's the Washington Catholic Athletic Conference or whatever, Catholic school conference. But these are all heavily funded high school programs. They've been around forever. A lot of as a matter of fact, Gonzaga is like downtown DC, and there's a lot of congressmen that send their kids there. So it's very, very well funded. They have A1 athletic everything. Yes, there's a lot of hoopers that come out of those programs for sure. And a lot of those guys end up going to like programs like Georgetown and Syracuse and stuff like that. But him balling in the WCAC, he has my respect off that alone. Then you couple that in with the camp stuff. That's where he's really been able to ascend from his ranking. Now, I know there was a lot of controversy around the Elite 11 that took place. He was for those who don't know, he won MVP of Elite 11, but the way they did it was weird because they said like 75% of your grade was going to come from your junior tape, which is like, well, if I attend the camp, how am I going to defeat that? Like, if we're just going to go off tape, why even show up? You know? So there was some controversy there. But me being from DC and just growing up in the area, Gonzaga is no joke. So the level of competition is not a concern for Caleb Williams. Now, I think what is a concern for us is that Oklahoma reaching over to the other side of the country to pick up a guy like that. Because those brothers from Gonzaga typically go to like Penn State, Maryland, Ohio State, like Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins didn't play in WCAC, but he played for Bullis, which is another private school in that area. And those guys send a lot of kids to Ohio State. So for Caleb Williams to go over speaks to what we've seen, and this is going to be the result of what Lincoln Riley has done, Tran, the production at the quarterback position going back to Baker Mayfield.
I mean, OU has been really good at picking the prep athletes. They go a lot to the what's that one from Nevada, that big one in Nevada.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's because IMG's in Florida.
Yeah, and they pick from IMG too as well. But it's
Bishop. Is it Bishop Gorman?
Yeah. Yep. Bishop Gordon. And so they have. It's just that they're extending their reach, man. They're doing what they should be doing. They should be picking the best athletes, and that's That's something that, a lot of our fans have an issue with us when we actually go out of state to pick up talent and not locking down the state. But, I want the best talent here to actually win.
I agree. And look, this opens the door for, Jalen Milroe. I'm as high on him as anybody out of the Katy area, and he's going to be from out. And it's still about how guys are going to be coached up and whatnot. But Jalen Milroe is not a 5-star all-world prospect the way Caleb Williams is. That's just the reality of the situation. However, Quinn Ewers from South Lake Carroll for 2022, that puts Texas on the table for him. And I would say that Quinn is a better prospect than Caleb as a passer. So there's Texas is going to have to get in this race. And again, Texas's quarterback room is as healthy as it's been in the last 15 years, in my opinion. It's healthy right now. And they're going to continue to, as long as Tom Herman's the head coach, they'll always recruit quarterbacks well, as far as I'm concerned, because he also has that cachet going back to his national championship win at Ohio State. And then on top of that, they can use Sam Ehlinger as a tool. The production that Sam Ehlinger has had at the school, that is a recruiting tool for other players, because Sam was very, very raw out of Westlake when he started playing quarterback in 2017 for us. So these are all good recruiting tools for Texas. We just have to be, this goes to a mindset thing. As Texas fans, we need to come to terms with the fact that Oklahoma is just going to be we just need to have the expectation Oklahoma is going to be a juggernaut, and we're just going to defeat the juggernaut anyway. You can't wait for people to have down years. This narrative that people are trying to say, well, there's last year, Jalen Hurts is good. There's going to be a drop off from Kyler Murray. Yes and no, right? Was he Kyler Murray? No. But was the production still there? Did they still make the playoffs? It doesn't matter. Like, whatever he needs to do to figure it out for the quarterback, he will. I guarantee you he'll figure something out for Spencer Rattler. It doesn't matter, right? So you have to just defeat them. That's no different than if you're LSU, you just assume Bama's going to be on point every year. Beat them. And if you're Alabama, vice versa. LSU, you just assume LSU is going to be on point, beat them. That's what it is. That's what it means to play in a big boy conference. And right now, we've been down too many times, and we've let Oklahoma off the hook. So we need to be on point to where, hey, they got to come through us as much as we got to go through them. That's my energy about it. Duncanville did beat the hell out of St. John's. Rakim Jarrett was on St. John, the 5-star receiver who flipped from LSU to Maryland, by the way, for those who don't know. I'm just going through the Garrett Wilson was one that got away, but for those, Garrett Wilson his hometown was Columbus, Ohio. Mm-hmm. They had a tie in there. I understand, him being at Lake Travis, playing high school ball here with Hudson Card and all those guys. It was tough to lose a prospect like that in your backyard. And then to see Garrett Wilson, was on the field and doing some things in the playoffs against Clemson. Hey, he had that tie. We lost that battle. Development is key. I agree, Texas dude. Getting caught up on the comments here. Josh Thompson did change his number. He's number 9 now from 29. All right. So, Tran, let me ask you this. Who's your pet cat on this team? And what I mean by pet cat, guy that hasn't necessarily broken out yet, hasn't necessarily been a starter, but somebody that no one's talking about, that you either fell in love with this particular player in recruiting, or even if he's been more of a rotational type of player on the team, but somebody who you just will, you're willing to put, you can go to Vegas right now, you'll put money on him that they'll be a productive player in 2020. Who's a pet cat for you in this upcoming season?
So defense, if he plays, Overshown. Offense, Epps. I think he's moving to a natural position where he can actually just use his size and his ability to just catch the ball. And I think last year, towards the end of the year, he started utilizing his size for being a possession receiver. And I think in this year's switch offense, utilizing him as a tight end, I think he's gonna get a lot of touches.
Malcolm Epps is my pet cat.
Yeah.
I think he's him, and if it's not him, I will say this: if it's not him, it's going to be Troy O'Mary, because Troy has that same type of build, and whether Troy plays flex tight end or plays kind of the role that Colin Johnson played, but his body is there as a freshman, right? So when you look at a guy like that who can go and get the football, I like the fact that it puts pressure on Malcolm Epps that they have somebody else like that on the roster, right? It's not just you with that particular skill set, bruh. So if you start getting pushed around again in the end zone and you got these little corners that are dealing with you now, he should be in a position now where he's too big for the safeties and too quick for the linebackers. That's the way I look at him. And I don't think that Mike Yurcich will put him where he has to be a primary blocker or have all these crazy blocking assignments or anything like that.
Maybe just chips. Maybe
just
a
chip a
couple
little
chips.
bit, arc block or whatever, but get out there and be an athlete. to your point.
Be an athlete, son.
Just go get the football, man. Be that basketball player on the field. And he was a redshirt freshman last year. And we talk about Malcolm Epps a lot on this channel because we all see the potential that he can have as a big man on the field to really dominate. I see everybody's chiming in with the Malcolm Epps hate right now. But I'm not giving up. He dropped some early. I'm telling y'all, go look at Malcolm Epps later in the season. And for all the Malcolm Epps hate that he's gotten, Sam Ehlinger still was trusting him and was still getting him opportunities.
I think the Iowa State game was the game that kind of turned around for him, because he started using his size. After that point, he was legitimately not dropping. He didn't look soft like everyone's saying he was. But yeah, him, and I think it's a natural transition now over to Overshown news.
So before you touch on Overshown, obviously, we talked about earlier this week, he's decided to sit down right now amidst he says the lack of sense of urgency on behalf of the Texas administration. I haven't gotten your thoughts on him, because I know where you're at from a football perspective, but just getting your take on the whole Overshown situation, then we can go from there.
Well, once you started showing me those comments fans were making, I'm like, all right, my mind was a little bit changed. But no, I mean, I think when this all happened, when they started requesting these demands, I think you and I had a private conversation. I said, I hope there's someone who's very mature, who's handling the negotiations, because we know in negotiations, you're not going to get 100% of the stuff that you're demanding. And and it's going to take a while for the other things to actually change, because change isn't just going to happen like that, Right. So this him coming forward and saying, hey, it's taking too long for it to, and so I'm going to sit out if they're not going to have our backs, stuff like that. Just shorter version. It kind of made it seem like it was just a push for urgency for them to try, because he's valuable on this team. And I mean, my thought process was, if I didn't watch the 2005 Ohio State versus Texas game, because it was online, and I watched it.
Yeah, you told me you were watching it.
A couple days ago, and AJ Hawk and Bobby Carpenter were the two stud linebackers, and to tell you the truth, they played a fantastic game. I think they forced 3 turnovers from Vince Young. Vince Young did not have a good game that game, except for the last
He had
drive.
Big moments.
It was our defense that played fantastic that game. But it
That was
wasn't any
also when
knock to
Ohio
their
State was still
defense.
doing musical chairs with Troy Smith and
Mhm.
Justin Zwick,
Yeah.
if I recall. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. But I mean, Joseph Osai, how great of a player he is, he still needs that extra person. And Overshown, we saw what he could do in that limited
In the limited
role that
touches.
he did. He could be that other guy. He could be that Bobby Carpenter to the AJ Hawk for us and make our defense run. It was run off of those. Their defense was predicated off of their linebacker play. Honestly, back then.
And he gives you a different skill set than guys like a Jawan Mitchell or even Delhi, right? Like, you know, no disrespect to them, and they'll be asked to fulfill a role in the middle. Even Court Jaquez, right? Like we saw him start in the Alamo Bowl, but everything was going to be very defined for that middle linebacker in this defense. The playmaker has to be that weak side guy that can come in and do kind of everything, and so Overshown gives you that special athlete to say each week he can have a completely different assignment. So that is a big loss for Tech. It's not like, even in no disrespect to Anthony Cook, but Anthony Cook, you know, was in a battle with, I'm not going to say projected to be a backup per se, but he was in a battle with Chris Adamora, or he was going to be at that nickel spot. So Overshown, though, had already made the move. They've already done all that behind the scenes to where he's in the linebacker room and he's going to play that role in this defense. So we need him, and we need him to play.
Yeah, we do.
And we got to get our stuff worked out internally. I would like to think, and I still have the same stance I had when I made the video the other day. I would like to think that the University of Texas, and this is where I will give the school a pass here. They have an interim president right now. They don't even have, like, they're in transition even as an administration, right? And they're dealing with COVID. One of the priorities that they're dealing with is our kid, to Matt's point earlier, are we even going to be on campus and, you know, this fall? And there's a lot of ramifications of that alone, protecting your teachers, protecting staff on the school, protecting the kids, all these type of things. So I do think if they can just provide some sort of realistic, level of timelines or clarity with the players of where things are at realistically,
That will ease a
I
lot
think,
of tensions.
I think that's enough. But if it's true that they haven't said anything to them since June 17th, I mean, this stuff is not going away. You know, I mean, there has to be some sort of, and even if there's some counsels, I don't know what the whole internal situation is, but in my opinion, I do think Overshown will eventually play, especially if the season gets pushed back.
Yeah.
And we have more time to solve these things anyway. I do think Brennan Eagles will play. Like, I'm not at a point yet where I'm like, these brothers are just all the way out. I think it's more of sending a message of trying to put pressure on the school to do as much as they can, from a negotiation standpoint, like you said. No, we can't tell anybody to kick rocks. We look, because I've seen some folks say in the comments on the last video, well, there's somebody else to take his spot. No, there's not.
There's
not
not
another 6'4", 4'5" guy that can hit like that and cover like that.
And he has the safety background that he can cover too. I mean,
you're gonna have to change the defense to some degree, or there's gonna be other limitations. Because now, if you're putting somebody else there, you're gonna have to be asking to do things that person doesn't have the skill set of Overshown. And the thing is, it's just because we haven't seen it in a large sample, especially in the context of this 4-3, cover 4-ish Chris Ash scheme. But trust me, there's a drop off between that guy and anybody else you're asking to fill in.
Yes, there is. What's your top 3 wish list for recruits? Honestly, I haven't even really looked at the recruits, but I know I want the Brockmeyers.
Yeah, shook ones. Brockmeyer's at the top of the list right now, and Kamar Wheaton from DFW. I know we've been strong at running back with Bijan or what, but look what Georgia did, from Todd Gurley to Nick Chubb and all the special backs that they've had in their program, Sony Michel, the list goes on, right? That's what I want Texas to get to. And again, you can have elite running back production coupled with all the passing stuff, right? Like, and that's the other thing that excites me about Bijan in particular is the receiving abilities, because there's going to be a transition. There's already a transitioning happening, and Keaontay Ingram's already there as a pass receiver, where the touches are going to start to shift, right? Some of those early BS, 3-yard runs are going to turn into, let's just hit you in the flats, or let's just, arrow route instead, and that's how you'll get, that will be check on your touch, right? So the way running backs will be used, we need them to be pass catchers. That's why it was important for Roshan to show that he could catch the ball a little bit last year. Keaontay Ingram, look how he was used in the bowl game with wheel routes all year long. That was something that we were excited to see with Jordan Whittington that we didn't get to.
Look, we utilized him on a trick play against LSU that should have worked. And I don't think I saw him miss another pass the rest of the year after that one. But I mean, we utilize them out of the backfield, and we always run that wheel route out of the backfield as well once we have a linebacker on them. So they have a chance to eat it as a receiver as well.
Make sure you guys hit that like button here. See, we got 91 people here. We're almost at 100, so appreciate you guys jumping on Sunday evening and talking ball with us. I have the Athlon Sports page up here, so I'll share that in a second. I did find it. Taylor, no worries, man. We're going strong here. We're 45 minutes in. Chat's looking good. David Gilbert, I am concerned about Ingram's weight. I do think to Tran's
Didn't we touch on that a couple?
We touched on that before.
Videos ago. Yeah, we actually went down the weight list that was scared us.
I'm not. If the brother comes, if we start out against South Florida and the brother's 225, I'm fine.
Yeah,
the 235 scares me. I totally agree with you, David.
Especially with bad knees.
The 235 scares me. I did see a comment earlier from Mr. Williams about the distribution of the running back yardage and whatnot. I'm cool with however it breaks down, but from an NFL standpoint, if Keaontay Ingram gets over 1,000 yards this year, he's likely gone. I would advise him to go with his, because he can block too. That's the other thing. He has all the dimensions. It's just really staying healthy for him and the consistency, because he had some games this year where he wasn't even getting the ball. We had games this year where we weren't giving Roshan the ball. Like it was weird where we just would fall asleep at the wheel with the running back touches. So if we can be accountable there, get our play count up. Let's get the play count up. And I know that's a big goal for Coach Irsich. That will help with all these guys getting the numbers they need. Was Foreman 250 that year? He ran for. I don't think he was
245. I think he was 245. I don't think
he was. Yeah.
But still, I mean, he's a different type of back than Foreman was, and he already has knee issues. So that's the thing that's concerning to me is the fact of his cuts, and he's not built the same way that Deontay is to handle the punishment.
Yeah, but we have a better. See, the thing is, at that time behind Foreman, the drop off was so massive because it was Kyle Porter.
Yeah.
Right. So like Kyle Porter would come in the game and get tackled.
No disrespect, but I'm gonna disrespect. No disrespect, but I'm gonna call him out.
I'm sorry, man. Kyle Porter, the brother from Katy, man. Like, and shout out to him. I think he's over at Houston now. It just wasn't. That was a drop. When like if Foreman wasn't in the game, it was like, all right, Shane, go get us something. So I don't know. I think I'm not as worried about Ingram from a health standpoint as I used to be, just because of all the depth there. It's not like I'm going to ask the guy to have 300 touches this year or anything like that. You know, the distribution will be there. Now, what I will be paying attention to is yards per carry. I like the fact that he was at 6 last year. I want my guys. If you look at Kenny, all these OU backs, right? OU, they always have 1 or 2 people that go over 1,000 yards, no problem. But their yards per carry is like 8.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, go.
And
if
to your point,
it's
the number of plays too. It starts tiring out defenses, and you start seeing the linebackers drift back a little bit, and it gives them an extra easier creases to bust through and bust off a 14, 15-yard run. So to your point, you know, if we bump it up to, I don't even necessarily think that we need to bust out 90 plays, but even 80 plays will give us enough to bump up those yards per carry.
I'll try to find on the website here, while we're talking, the average play counts of who in the country's running the most plays. Offensively, North Carolina's got to be up there. I mean, I don't know how you get 2 runners at 1,000, and 2 receivers at 1,000. Like, shout out to Mac. I'm impressed with what's going on over there.
Georgia did that, and I don't think they're kind of a high potent offense.
Yeah, well, what were their passing numbers though?
Because, he's trash.
They had the
trash can back then.
Oh yeah, and DeAndre Swift was another running back.
Yeah.
That Jordan and James Cook, Zamir White, like all these dudes, they just throw them in there, just
crank them out.
Right. All right, I'm gonna share my screen real quick so y'all can see, because we're gonna go back to the all Big 12 discussion. So this is Athlon Sports. I grew up on these guys. I'm gonna put this over here. I grew up on these guys, and are you seeing my screen, Tran?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, cool. So, as I mentioned before, they're going to use all these websites are going to use Sam Ehlinger to sell.
Yeah, they know what the brand is and what the.
That's why he's going to be first team QB. He's going to be first team QB.
I mean, if I were to choose it, I'd still have Brock Purdy number 1 if he was ahead of him.
But you have to do it based upon what you think is going to happen this year.
Yeah.
I feel like, because again, if we're rewarding it off of last year, then Parchment from Kansas would be over Rambo. But they're projecting Rambo being basically the new Hollywood Brown, new CeeDee Lamb person from a targets perspective, right?
Yeah.
Hazelwood is injured, so it's going to be Rambo and Theo Weiss are going to probably be the 1-2, I would assume, for OU to start out with, and they have a bunch of weapons. But a little different here. These guys don't have Xavier Newman from Baylor in their first team at guard. They do have like the all-purpose player. They had Kennedy Brooks here. So, but defensively, instead of Amen, they had Joseph Osai.
It's fine. I like it.
And then Deshaun Jameson getting that love, which I love to see. And he's probably it's the playmaking aspect of it, right? Like, he's a guy that's going to get interceptions, and it's going to Hazelwood's schedule back for the spring.
I hope he's working on that double move coverage, because he got burnt quite a bit, but he does have that makeup speed as well, though. But
I think the double move stuff, though, was also a product of the defense we were running, where we had our corners.
I think it was a product of he was a former wide receiver, and we just threw him out there and said, be an athlete.
Sure. Let's see here. So now the second team, because they had the same specialist that the College Football News had. So second team, Brock Purdy, Breece Hall. See, this is where I would put Keaontay Ingram. I do think with the production that he had, he would be up here. Now, these receivers like Tariq Milton and Brennan Eagles' numbers kind of similar. Tariq Milton had more yards. Brennan Eagles had more touchdowns. But when you're projecting stuff like this, like Parchment had had more yards, catches, and touchdowns than both of these guys, but they got them up there. So it's the preseason stuff is, to your point, it's, are we going to reward prior production, or are we going to reward what we think will happen? Right. So very, very interesting conversation here. I still would have Caden Stearns on my first team, though.
It's like I still also, I know he doesn't have a home, but Kerstetter should be on there somewhere, because especially right here where it's just saying O-line, 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 it's not even listing a specific spot.
So they put Kerstetter right here on there because they did three teams. So okay. They put Kerstetter on the third team.
Can you go up to the second team defense, please?
Mm-hmm.
I want to see. Yeah, where's Coburn? Anywhere on these lists. They have Taquan Graham ahead of him.
They have Taquan Graham at third. They actually did a fourth team, which is weird. And that's when they just threw all the wide receivers in here.
Yeah, they're just like, all right, I'm done.
They just threw the rest of the wide receivers in here.
I also love Junior Angelau, but I don't see where did you say Kerstetter was? You said he was
Kerstetter's third team.
Okay.
13th center. They have Angelau.
Yeah, and I agree with other people that are saying this. Where's Green? Where's Jalen? Where's Jalen?
Jalen Green is not. He's
fourth team.
No love.
Coburn's fourth team.
See, that's the thing too, right? Like, are there 9 defensive linemen in the or interior defensive linemen better than Keaontay Coburn?
No.
In the Big 12?
I only will put the Stills brothers up there with him. Honestly, and I was fine.
I was fine with the Stills brothers.
Same here.
At them with them being first team.
That is disrespect right there, for the anchor of our defense.
That's fine. He'll get better numbers this year though with the scheme.
I hope so. I hope he just tears people apart.
I don't honestly. I don't see how Taquan Graham's ahead of him.
I don't either.
According to this, so that's a bit perplexing to me. The Jalen Green thing. Now, part of it too is he got hurt last year, but he was our from a.
Man, I definitely think that Caden is a first team all Big 12 player, but I mean I can't really argue with a second team defense. I mean, you don't know how he's going to react to the new scheme or anything like that. So, I mean, that's not terrible to me.
I just wanted to share that with you guys, so I'll stop. I want to see. Let me. Since I was sharing, I want to see everybody's.
Taylor Jones, Chris Boyd. Actually, his issue was not coverage. He was actually in place all the time. He just could not play the ball in the air. He couldn't play the ball. So,
Brad, they had Jake Smith on the fourth team, which Jake Smith, with him playing that now the eighth position, I don't know what it's going to look like with Yursich's offense versus Tom Herman. We know that slot position under Tom Herman was whether it was LJ or Devin, they ate and they had crazy amount of targets. I think the thing I'm looking for, Jake Smith, because you actually brought this up to me when you said you were rewatching the LSU versus Texas game.
Yeah, it was on ESPNU yesterday.
So tell the people what you were telling me the other day regarding Jake Smith.
He had quietly probably the second best game of any receiver that game. Very quietly. And what was that, his second game playing?
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple fumbles later, that's when he started getting into his head. But you saw the Gatorade Player of the Year in that game. Big time catches over the middle to pull us within 3, things like that. And just he was fantastic.
Puka Williams was first team all purpose on that list.
No.
They had 2 running backs and then they had an all-purpose player. So you may have missed it, but Puka Williams was on that list. Jake Smith, though. So this is my personal theory on him, and we may have touched on this during the season. I think the punt return stuff messed him up from a confidence standpoint. I think when he had the punt return issue and he muffed, I think it was the Oklahoma State game where he muffed a punt. And then all of a sudden it was like some assignment type of things. And he wasn't having a lot of success on punt return. Remember, we were dead last in the country on punt return. It wasn't just the return people's fault because Brandon Jones had
negative
issues
yards all the way to the last game of the season.
Like the last game of the season. Yeah. Right. Tracy Williams in here with Keaontay's carries per game. There we go, Keaontay Club, my man. We'll get
Texas
to that.
Tech, he only had 2.
I'm gonna get to the Keaontay carries in a second. But with Jake Smith, I think as a freshman, a true freshman, with the hype that he had, and then coming off of playing well in the LSU game where he got a touchdown over the middle, it was really, really impressive, and he got hit and he scored. The confidence got shaken. Because for like when you're not confident, you're not playing fast. Those two things go together. When you're confident and you know what you're doing, whether it's offense or defense. Whereas if it's defense, when you're confident, see ball, hit ball, right? Offensively, when you're confident, you're moving, you're making plays, you're catching the ball in stride, you're moving, you're confident on where you're going to be in the route tree. There were times where you saw Sam Ehlinger having to have those conversations with him, like, hey, you're shutting it down at 15 yards. I need you to be at 18 yards, things like that. Right. So I think his confidence got impacted, and then his snaps started to get played with. And also Devin Duvernay was killing it, right? He was Devin's backup. So the times you were going to take Devin Duvernay off the field were rare. This gets to my other point with the offense, though, because now you have a battle really with Jake Smith and Jordan Whittington for that inside position. It shouldn't be one over the other per se. You got to figure out a way to have a more diverse offense where both guys are showcased on the field at the same time. And it took us until the end of the season where we saw a set where we actually have 4 wide receivers on the field at the same time. For the longest time, they felt the need that Cade Brewer had to be the other guy on the inside, and they wouldn't move off of that. They wouldn't adjust to that. So I do expect, and I know I'm putting a lot on Mike Yurcish's plate, but that's why you go and get somebody like that to be making those type of adjustments and to have a Jordan Whittington and a Jake Smith on the field at the same time. Like, yeah, there's going to be times where you go straight up 11 personnel and somebody's going to have to play over the other one. I get it. But the whole game, you know what I mean? And it was just weird. Yeah, I'm with you. More 10 personnel, especially against certain opponents. It doesn't have to be everybody. But that was one of the reasons why, whether it's TCU's had our number the last few years or Iowa State, I just don't see enough of that diversity. Like the Iowa State game, we kind of like fell into it with the 10 personnel because we had to get that score. I think it was before the half, but we had no choice but we were down by so much. We had no choice but just start throwing. And then it was like, oh, this 10 personnel works because they can't guard all four wide receivers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd like to see that. Just because Jordan Whittington's move to wide receiver doesn't mean that he can't line up in the backfield. Right? Like, put him everywhere. Put Jake Smith on the outside. Because I want to see us get to a level that guys like Lincoln Riley across the country or Ryan Day, where you'll see them motion somebody somewhere or move somebody somewhere just to get a reaction. Right? To set something up later down the line. I don't think we were as nuanced like that the last few years. I think we were really good with what we were, whether it was quarterback power in 2018, where we were really good out of those sets. And we were really good with the Devin Duvernay stuff and the routes he was good at, and Sam could throw those. But having more of that diversity will help us, I believe. I totally agree, David Williams. Jordan Whittington has to be featured everywhere.
Yeah, he's too good of a talent not to be.
Taylor said we didn't even run bunch until the bowl game. That's not an issue no more. It's coming. Game by game. I think we're all on the same page with what we want to see offensively here. The production, the guys have produced on this football team, Tran. We've seen Roschon Johnson go over 100 yards. We've seen Keaontay Ingram go over, have several great games. We've seen Sam Ehlinger against LSU go throw for throw with Joe Burrow, right? Like, we've seen them have those moments. But from a week-to-week standpoint, we've just had these lulls where somebody just comes in and eats our lunch schematically, right? Where it's like, why are we having so much trouble figuring out what's going on? And sometimes it's even line play, because the OU game came down to line play where we just could not communicate. we couldn't get anybody blocked up.
Nope.
So, all those things, we just got to get to a point where we're better aligned, as some of the coaches like to talk about. I'm with you guys, man. I have great confidence in your season. We were a number 15 offense. The problem is we stalled too much. And we had to put a lot on the offense's plate because the defense, that's the other thing, guys. The defense was so banged up and we had issues where we were just giving up chunk yardage. I've talked about this for 2 years with Todd Orlando, and I wasn't the biggest Todd Orlando critic. I was actually a Todd Orlando fan. But I also mentioned, damn it, every single game we started on defense, we give up a score.
A touchdown every single time.
So it's already an issue where we're coming into the game knowing we're going to be down either 3-0 or 7-0 off break. That affects your offense, in my opinion. That affects my script if I'm Tom Herman or Tim Beck before, like all that, like just the momentum and the aspect of why are we always starting the game in a hole, right? So that was what was refreshing about the bowl game, just coming out and just being fired up from jump. Yeah.
So I got a question about Yursich. I really love the way he breaks down and does his little whiteboard sessions and things like that. But I kind of want him to stop doing that because people are going to know his sets. Honestly, if he keeps on providing those.
No, he's been doing it for years, though.
I get that, but it's just like I know they're very watered down, generic whiteboard sessions that he goes over, but I still was like, hey, don't even give people an opportunity to understand that. Let them figure it out themselves. What you're doing.
Will Johnson, how many times did we run 10 personnel against OU? I don't recall us being 10 personnel that much at all. That I mean, I saw a lot of 11, and the typical thing we did where we flexed out Cade Brewer. But when I'm talking about 10 personnel, I'm talking about more of what we saw when we went to desperation mode in the Iowa State game. But I could be wrong. I'm just asking a question. A number 15 offense that put up 3 points against Baylor. Again, like I said, we stalled. And Baylor, by the way, what defense was Baylor running? They're running the same defense we were running. They just did it better.
Yeah. They were the only team that could get pressure with 3 down linemen. I don't get it.
Wasn't James Lynch Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year?
Mm-hmm.
How come they didn't have any problems with that? It's just whatever you're doing. I mean, again, the injuries had a lot to do with this. I know people like to say, well, Steve, you're throwing out excuses for the defense, but I will never forget having walk-ons to finish the Kansas game when dudes were out, and I'm like just praying that people could make tackles and that somebody could get BJ Foster stood up correctly because he could not physically move. The brother was like, I till this day, I will forever be thankful for BJ Foster for even being out there, because that couldn't be me. I'm not that tough the way he was, and he couldn't even move. But it's like, I can't come off the field or else another walk-on is going to be in the game. That's how banged up we were, so some of that has to be factored in here. Now there's a lot especially with the type of players that they've recruited and they have on this roster. Whether it's the wide receivers, the versatility they do have with the tight ends, and we've talked about number 18 Jared Wiley, Kay Brewer, Malcolm Epps,
Yep.
right? The kid out of Arizona, his name's escaping me right now, but the other tight end that we recruited last year that was
Braden.
Braden Liebrook, right? Like those all like there's a lot of things you can do. Even we haven't mentioned him yet. Daniel Young, use him as an H back. Play around with these guys, right? Different creative ways you can get people on the field to give you the sets you need against the opponent you're facing that week. Because look, the way you attack a Kansas State and the way Kansas State plays and the physicality of which they play with is going to be different from the way you attack a Texas Tech, right? Like and how you play those guys. So the more versatility that you have with your personnel and how you're able to use them will only be beneficial for us down the road. And Wiley was getting there at the end of the year as a blocker. I've said that in the last few chats, but if you guys really go back, especially study his Utah tape, he was getting his grown man on the edge.
Especially seeing him for the first time during the spring game and seeing him just
Night
being
a
beanpole. Yeah, it was completely night and day.
Hey, but who do you give? Is that credit that you're gonna give to Yancey McKnight on getting his body right? Like, I mean,
he gets
all this criticism.
He has no issues with the big guys. The people that we have been seeing breaking down are skill positions.
That's true. The big guys.
I mean, even our offensive line, there was 0 injuries. Knock on wood, that continues. But I mean, it seems like he just uses a lot of power concepts for our team.
All right, so the Ingram thing. So Tracy Williams, and you let me know if you agree with me or whatever. Keaontay Ingram is a rhythm runner, and it's like boxing, right? You got to fill out your opponent, and a lot of running backs are like this. It's hard to be the guy, and it's hard to be the guy where you're the be ready when called upon guy to break one on 2 or 3 touches, or when you're getting the ball so sparingly. He's a guy that has to. It's very similar to Cedric Benson in the early 2000s. Cedric Benson was amazing in the 3rd and 4th quarter of all his games, right? Because he was one of those guys where some of those 3 and 4 yard runs in the 1st and 2nd quarter, he had to get going. He had to fill out the defense. And I know the analytics people are going to tell me there's no such thing as, softening up the defense or whatever. But Tran, we both play football, and we've seen it on the field, right? From a physical standpoint. Data people can come at me if they want to, but I also think it has to be effective touches and efficient touches, and times last year where we would get frustrated where it's like, oh, he cut back there and got tackled for 2 yards, and then he wouldn't get the ball to the 2nd quarter randomly.
Mm-hmm.
That can't happen. And the best Keaontay Ingram was when they stuck with him, right? When they stuck with him. Let him keep getting that rock, run and pass, right? Because he's a guy that can catch it out of the backfield, get physical. And when he was healthy, even going back to the Oklahoma State game for Keaontay Ingram, when he was really able to establish touches, he was the best player on the field for us that night, in my opinion. So I just think it's something where you have to be able to.
Daniel, Keaontay Ingram did not. He wasn't the one who gave up a 3rd and 17 for a touchdown. So I mean. Our defense didn't stop. I mean, yeah, that drop in the end zone hurt us a lot, but he didn't lose the game for us.
Hold on. Let's. So this is something that I'm gonna have to debunk again. How exactly do you lose the game for somebody in the 1st quarter? I've never heard of that. He dropped. So these are just facts. All right. So it was 4th and goal, right? Tom Herman decided to go for it. Sam Ehlinger puts the ball on Keaontay's hands. He drops it, right, in the end zone. And it's turnover on downs. if I'm not mistaken. So LSU was backed up when they got the ball back. What happened on that LSU possession?
They threw a pick.
They threw a pick. Joseph Osai picks off Joe Burrow, right? We had 1st and goal right back again. So I'm going to go down this sequence. We have 1st and goal again. I thought that second time we should have kicked the field goal because I knew we didn't have another play ready to go for the 4th and goal. We thought we had scored on the quarterback power. I believe it got reviewed. We didn't score. We tried to go for it again.
Yeah, his knee was down at the half-yard line.
Right. All that to say, it was still 0-0, or it was 3-0. I think LSU had kicked the field. It was 3-0. It was 3-0 LSU. We didn't score that whole sequence, right? LSU gets it again. They punt. We ended up getting the Brennan Eagles 50-yard touchdown after that. So we went up. After all of that went down, we still got the 7 with the Brennan Eagles 50-yard touchdown. And there was like 8 or 9. It was like 9 minutes left in the second quarter. We're up 7-3. All of that occurred after the Keaontay Ingram drop. And I say that because we were in the atmosphere and everybody was going nuts when Brennan Eagles broke that tackle on the sideline and cooked what's the corner on what's my man on LSU? Christian Fulton.
Yeah,
right.
Fulton.
When he broke off Christian Fulton and we went up 7-3. Football's a momentum game, right? Everybody was going, look at the Texas side. Like there was nobody still thinking about because if they score there, you're not going to get the Brennan Eagles touchdown later. You'll still be up 7-3, but 7. To my point is it's 7-3 either way. Texas lost that game because they gave up the 3rd and 17. Yes.
That was
Justin Jefferson scores.
I had to turn it off right then. Like when it was 3rd and 17.
But Texas gave up, I believe it was 17 points unanswered in the second quarter.
I also think, to your point, I think we had
up 17 unanswered.
A minute and like 45 seconds remaining, and we did the right thing. I think we were trying to go for a to see if we could break one on a pass, but once they got that sack, that's when you have to shut it down, and you just gave them way too much time, and it wasn't really good clock management.
Who was it they got to say? It was Brandon Jones?
No. I'm talking about right before the half.
The
Chase on
sack. Yeah, on the stunt.
And that's when we first found out that they were terrible at blocking against stunts.
and that was also whether you want to put that on Shackelford or Parker Braun, that was kind of the hole that kind of started happening there. Mm-hmm. On that left side, because it wasn't Cosme issue. It was he loops around and we never seemed to get that communication right between the center and the left guard, Parker Braun. But the that whole 3rd and 17 sequence at the end of the game is inexcusable.
Yeah,
that's not the fact that you can get blamed like that for a drop. People drop touchdowns.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase dropped a touchdown in the Clemson national championship game. Does anybody talk about that? Because the team just kept on riding. Nobody cares. I'm not saying it wasn't critical or wasn't demoralizing for the football team, but good football teams, and let this be a lesson to some of you guys out there to get this in your brains. Good football teams have to bounce back from bad shit sometimes. Mm-hmm. All right. That's part of the game, especially when bad stuff happens early. All right. And Texas responded. The Brennan Eagles they kept playing ball. Sam Ehlinger really didn't even get hot until the second half that. If you really want to be real with it, right? Like that's when he was really, really got going.
He had one big play in the first half, and that was it was the one that you're talking, the 55-yarder or something like that.
To Brennan Eagles.
Yeah.
So, but the second, that whole sequence there. So Brandon Jones got the sack to make it 3rd and 17. We had a beautiful blitz. My issue though is going cover 0. You had 3 people in coverage. All right. You had it was 4. You had 4 people in coverage because I counted 7 people. I'll never forget the freeze frame when the brother was hanging off of Joe Burrow and he's letting go of the football. And I'm counting all the Texas people that are at the line of scrimmage. It's 7 people there. And I'm like, why? Like Todd Orlando, for the life of me, I don't understand. It's like, why not just play the sticks and say, I'll let Allaire catch the ball in the flat. I will concede Allaire catching the ball and even
Let
giving
them
up some
get,
yards.
let them
And
get
we just
12
rally to
yards.
the
Who
football and
cares?
tackle.
Like, who cares? Let them get 12
Who
yards.
cares? At least I'm not dead. Because once Justin Jefferson caught that ball, I was dead.
Yeah.
Right? I just don't want to die in that situation. I wanted to end the game. If we're gonna lose, I want to lose with 11 having the ball on Texas offense. I want to lose with Sam Ehlinger. All right, we at least have the ball. We have a chance to win the game. And unfortunately, our offense never got that chance because of poor coaching in that situation.
I mean, we did get the chance because we came back, we got a touchdown, and then we kicked an onside kick that was perfect. Probably the best onside kick I've ever seen, to the right person, but he fell out of bounds.
Just said LSU about to catch this fade. Yeah, we about to play the Scott Linehans. All right. Let's see what's going on. Oh, we have an LSU fan in here talking trash. Pay him no mind. All right.
Where's the LSU fan talking trash?
I don't know. We don't give trolls attention here.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I was with y'all. The blitz call, it's because they did it they got greedy. It worked, and I've heard the counter again. We had a live right after the game. We walked across the street, walked across 35, and we were so angry and frustrated from DKR. But like the counter to that people said was Joe Burrow was so hot that you had to blitz to try to get him to get the ball out. And my thing was, with LSU already being ahead at that point, I don't think they would have taken the risk to throw the ball into that much coverage if you're playing the sticks. I don't care how hot the quarterback was. Typically, if I concede a running back catching the ball for a dump down with 10 yards, and then, like I said, we rally to the football and tackle,
I'm not giving up that first down. I'll give up
they would have
12 yards, 15 yards. I don't care. I'm not giving up that play. I'm not giving that up. I don't care. I'm dropping everyone into coverage and just not even really blitzing with the defensive lineman, just kind of pushing the offensive lineman to make sure that they stay true to their form.
And at that point in the season, I put a lot of respect on Marshall, Chase, Jefferson. We both did, Tran, when we were coming in, because we saw what they did in the bowl game the year before against UCF. When they let those guys throw the football, I was like, okay, this tape is really, really encouraging. No one knew that Jamar Chase was the Biletnikoff.
Yeah.
No, like, people weren't saying that in game 2, right? People weren't saying Justin Jefferson is a first-round pick in game 2. And this is something that they just went ahead and did that to everybody down the stretch. But it's just unfortunate, if we had just taken the time to I think Todd Orlando, that was one of the things, he just got caught up in going to the well one too many times.
Yeah, he did run the ball, Nathan. He did run the ball well, but if you're reading the quarterback with the linebackers, I'll let him run the ball for 12, 15 yards. I don't care. You just don't give up the 17 yards, let alone a touchdown. It's just playing for position just to get the ball back at that point, because it was 3rd and 17.
I mean, we saw Texas can play at that. When they were healthy, they could play at that level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of my argument with the defense too. It's like,
we don't ever spy though. Yeah, I know. I get that. We did a little bit when we had Malik.
Well, thank you for answering my earlier question. He said both sacks number 2 and number 4 in the OU game were out of 10 personnel. Got it. No, I appreciate that. I was curious because I remember us, like, we couldn't even set up screens in the OU game. And you remember how that's a whole other thing. We came out, I felt like so scared offensively. Like, it was like, so, like, we came out trying to do our bubble screen stuff, and it's like, Our guys are getting blown up on the perimeter. Like, just we didn't come out in attack mode the way we've seen this football team. Even the OU game the year before, both games. Remember, both games we started out pretty well offensively. The game where we beat them, and then the game at Cowboys Stadium, we scored opening drive right off the bat. We came out aggressive. So those screens that we came out with, it just seemed like, I don't know, being there in the stadium, man, it just seemed like we were so tentative. And it was weird because even that game too, I know, you can make the argument that game wasn't as close as a score, and a lot of OU fans like to say that, and that's fine. But there was a moment where, I think it was Anthony Cook that forced the fumble on Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And we got turnover, and like these things were happening, and then we got another turnover, and we never just turned it on offensively to so that's another game where I'm like, yeah, everybody wants to blow up the defense and how they were playing, but like there's opportunities there for us to be more consistent. And that's where I see that final step for Sam Ehlinger and the addition with Mike Yurcich again.
Just questioning Bijan's hype. Bijan, he's actually playing in a legit conference in Arizona, where a lot of big time talent came from. At one point in the season, he was averaging like 26 yards a carry. It was ridiculous. And it's just the guy's just already built for college football. If you haven't seen him, he's fast. He can catch the ball. He can run. He makes jump cuts. He's already an all-purpose back.
See some shout outs to Tarleton in here. So what's going on? Tarleton's not D2 anymore. They're going to D1, or they're going to FCS, or what are they doing now? Because I've been seeing that I have some family that goes to Tarleton, so that's why I'm asking. I think it's out in Stephenville? I'm just reading some of these. He said, just let the dogs hunt on D and let them be athletes. Agreed. That's why we're making the shift. But we need Overshown to play.
Mm-hmm.
In order to do some of those cool things that y'all want to see defensively and have that versatility there. It will make life, like Tran said, guys, it makes life easier for Joseph Osai, who, by the way, just want to touch on it again. The possibilities are endless for number 46 on defense. And I'm so excited for his we are FCS as of a couple days ago. Congratulations.
Good job.
Bumping up. Congratulations. That's more money for their school. Opportunity to play some D1 schools at the FBS level. So
get some paychecks.
That's awesome. Get some checks, man. Keep getting those checks. I saw, I think, who was it that scheduled? I think LSU's going to play like Grambling or somebody. Like all these schools, getting them some money to play is a big deal. We're going to go a few more minutes here. We're almost at an hour 30, unless there's some things y'all want to bring up here that we need to touch on. We can go back to recruiting too in a second, but I do want to finish my thought on Joseph Osai. And we've talked about it so much, but it's the things that he's going to be able to do as a pass rusher with a better schematic understanding up front of leveraging everyone else, and just having him have those one-on-ones like we saw in the Utah game where he can just hunt. It makes our secondary better. Deshaun Jameson can he can be the Asante Samuel. I say Asante Samuel because he's been talking a lot of trash on Twitter randomly, popped up out of nowhere. But but I say that because all those guys will be able to eat back there. It makes Caden Stern's life easier, especially if he's going to be moving back to more of a free safety type of look, being able to, even getting a little bit more exotic. Joseph Osai, when you have an elite pass rusher, especially in college football, the things you can do with your defense, it makes it infinitely better. And the only reason why we didn't see that last year is because of the injuries, and he had to move to middle linebacker. And that only helped him from his NFL stock standpoint, because he was out there covering people better than some of our safeties were at times.
Well, not only the coverage aspect of his game, but the way that he plays, stretch played runs when they're pulling a guard or something like that. I haven't seen a linebacker at Texas handle that with his length, use his body completely to break up that whole play. Like even with the guards coming and pulling, he uses his length with his reach, pushes them towards the middle and keeps containment, and then he even makes the play. I loved Malik Jefferson, but he didn't have that. He just had all world natural athleticism and ability. But Osai is a mixture of him and also what's his name? I can't think. He played DJ Derek Johnson. He's got that ability, and I didn't see it at first at the beginning of this year. And you kept harping on it, like just watch. Osai's my guy. Osai's my guy. And towards the middle of the season, I just noticed, he's the heart and soul of this defense.
100%. He's one of the leaders on this whole football team. From a production standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, his swagger. He's got a lot. For those who don't know him, like I don't know him personally or anything, but just hearing how he is on campus and the type of person that he is, he has a swagger that you need to be, whether you want to call it BDE or whatever, you need people like that on the team. Because those are the people that show up in the big. Those are the people that show up in the big game. Let's just be real, right? Like those are the people that show up in the biggest of games. David Williams, go back to your point about the multiple backs in the OU game. Go look at I think how many touches did Keaontay Ingram have in the OU game?
Probably like 2. I can't remember.
I think he had Tracy Williams showed us the carries earlier. And then Roshan, who broke one in the OU game. Remember, he broke a 57-yarder.
He only had like 8.
He only had like 8 carries. Yeah. So we had like 10 carries for the running backs in that game. So it's like, to your point, like you gotta feed these dudes.
Yes, Tracy. We should go after Marcel Brooks. We probably won't get him. I see him probably going to like A&M.
I can see him going to A&M.
A&M, or I could also see him going to TCU, to tell you the truth, TCU or Baylor as well.
I would pursue him though. I definitely would pursue him though.
Baylor's
that's what I want to touch
Ronda.
on. That's what I want to touch on. You know who they should put on him, and I know it's not his position.
Put
on Marcel Brooks. If they really want to go out and get him, because he's another hunter. Brooks is. He's supposed to be Mr. When he was at LSU, he was talking about, I want to be Mr. A-gap, blowed up the A-gap, getting sacks, blah, blah, blah. It didn't happen. At least that's what they were hyping him up. Go put Jay Valai on him. Because Jay Valai is he can't miss right now.
Mm-hmm.
He can't miss right now. He got the brother Johnson out of California that just committed. Look at the DBs that he's gotten over the last. Jay Valai is running hot right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is he's been getting guys that to commit that are DBs, but from what I'm hearing, just in the, from a lot of you guys that are actually hitting me up, because some of the people here in the chat are very tied into the coaches up in the DFW area, and some of you guys are coaches yourselves, or you have nephews and people that interact closely with the team. The name that keeps coming up as, hey, breath of fresh air, he's blown us away, is Jay Valai, period. So if he can coach his position half as well as this brother can recruit, we have a true star here, because he's now gotten people to sign, not just here in Texas, but also we pull somebody from out of state. And I know some of you guys are like, I don't want Cali people anymore because of what happened with Brew McCoy. By the way, I don't know what's going. I feel bad for Brew because he lost his boo to Georgia. The quarterback. Poor Brew. I'm sorry I brought him up, fellas. JT Daniels.
Hey, apparently only Dicker has a BDE. Only Dicker has BDE. That's what they said. Phil Cox is the ball at linebacker too. Yep.
You know, I definitely wanted to touch on Vlad. Jess, I saw your question earlier about Greg Brown, from a UT basketball standpoint, and Will Baker getting there. Look, basketball has no excuses this year. They have a stud in Greg Brown, and let me be very, very clear. The fact that this brother did not go to the G League is a big deal. We have not had a force like this. I know we've had some good freshmen, all right, and guys that Jackson Hayes most recently that developed into a lottery pick, and Mo Bamba and all these guys. But what Greg Brown, his skill set's a little different and what he's going to be able to do. And I think we need to be a more up and down basketball team, especially with the depth we have and the guards. All of our guards are back. Andrew Jones, we have a shoot. Like, there's no excuses. We have a shooter. We got the scrappy glue guy and Brock Cunningham. We got bigs. I think what's the other guy's name? My center's coming back. The kid from Minnesota. Why am I blanking on names tonight? Somebody help me out. Did Jericho Sims? Oh, Jericho Sims left. Did he leave? He went to the NBA. If Jericho Sims left, then we did lose somebody. However, with UT basketball, whether Jericho Sims is left or not, I mean, he got injured, but they have enough. They have everything that they need, and this is, you know, if they get it done, then Shaka's great, you know, and if they don't, then Shaka's gone.
Yeah,
it just is what it is at this point. Yeah, David Williams, I agree. You still have to. The Johnson signing or commitment is big, but the signing, him signing is, you know, we've had some issues with some of these West Coast guys, and even you know, some of the rumblings we had with Jake Smith and Liebrock when they were, you know, we heard some stuff behind closed doors that they were thinking about entering the portal and things like that. So we've, you know, it's tougher with the out of state kids, no doubt. But you got to keep people happy. I did not hear about Jericho Sims leaving, so if y'all can confirm that, I thought I would have gotten. I'm like, am I out of the loop? So if Jericho Sims is still here, then nobody left.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, I mean, the college game is all about guard play, and now we have senior leadership for guard play. Now with some athletic bigs, I mean, you have to be successful. Otherwise, Shaka. Bye-bye, Shaka.
Yeah. I could see some of the guys that got injured sitting out, or not sitting out, but transferring at some point potentially. You know, and I hope they still keep, you know, some of those shooters, you know, because they Jace, like a Jace Febris, like he got injured. I hope they hold on to him. But Gerald Liddell, you know, everything that Brock Cunningham started doing is what we wanted you to do. So, you know, you got to earn your spot back. Kamaka Hepa, my man from Alaska, who's going to be making his voyage back to the continental United States. You know, all these guys got to put it together, and if they can be a very, very dangerous team in the NCAA tournament. It's unfortunate that they didn't get to play in the Big 12 tournament, because I know even though they got smoked in the Oklahoma State game at the end of the season, they were pretty hot to finish the season. They really were. They won
20 games, right?
They won 19.
19. They were on the verge of winning 20 games. Benton's in the portal.
We'll go for a couple more minutes here, and then we'll wrap up, guys. We had a basketball question, Tracy. He said, why are we talking about basketball? I'll talk about anything that you guys want to bring up. I mean, last week we talked about, remember the discussion we had about all the
people we forgot? That was my favorite. Yeah. People forgot about.
People forgot about that were awesome college players and didn't make a dime in the NFL. So, you know, we'll talk about whatever. We can talk about Usman versus Masvidal. next weekend.
That's a dangerous fight for. Is it next weekend?
Is it next week? It's 1 week.
It's the 14th. You're right. Yeah, it is. That's a dangerous fight for Usman, honestly.
Juwan Mitchell retracted his tweet. So as far as I'm concerned, no news is good news there. Shout out to Texas softball and volleyball squads. Amen, Jose. I'm sorry, I'm not knowledgeable on the sports, so that's why I don't touch on them. If for those of you who are,
I just know that we're a powerhouse in volleyball. I know that.
Yeah, but Juwan Mitchell, he retracted the tweet to your question, Tracy. So, I mean, we're out of the woods there. Ooh, Cam Newton, good question.
I think he will.
I think he will, only because I do like when he was healthy, and this is something that some of the people have brought up. The beginning of 2018, when he was with North Turner and they started the season, I think they were 6-2 before he before his shoulder really went to crap. He was as accurate as we've ever seen Cam. He really, really was. And they were running a different type of offense than he tipped in the Cam all burnish, quarterback power every other play type of stuff that they were doing before. He really was getting, very proficient at all three levels throwing the football. The shoulder injury happens. I thought he played prematurely in 2019, and that led to that was a disaster. And then the confidence went down because I think the Panthers lost their last 8 games that he actually started at quarterback. And when you have those type of stats coming against you, it's time for a fresh start. I'm also say this. I like the fact that the brother's listening to gospel music again.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I was like, some truth is about to come out this year. I hear him listening to that, working out. But hey, no, I mean he looks like he's healthy.
He looks healthy.
I think if they pick up a competent tight end, I think his offense will the Patriots offense fits his skill set.
It does.
So I mean, I think he's going to start this season. I mean, it's a 1 year deal. It's of course they're going to start him at first. Maybe Jared Stidham might take over in the middle of the season, but you got to go with a guy who's taken a team to the Super Bowl. Or did you take
Jared Stidham? Jared Stidham's the future too, right? And them having Cam just buys them more time with his development. You don't have to just because he's only been there. Jared Stidham's only been in the offense 1 year, right? And he's been on the team for 1 year. And the thing is with Cam, this is what the Patriots are masters of, and they did this with Revis, where it's like, hey, come out and ball for a year and then go get paid somewhere else. Yeah. We're not going to be the ones to pay you, but if you want to come,
we'll give you the platform to
we'll
together
showcase you. And the other thing too is that we saw this with the Patriots every time Tom Brady got injured or suspended, whatever happened. Their creativity came out. And I think from a football perspective, there's some things that they can do with Cam that creatively, even when you remember that game when it was Jacoby Brissett's rookie season and they came out there running option and they were playing the Texans. I think it was the Texans on Thursday Night Football. It was a short week, very little prep. Garoppolo had gotten hurt. They come out there with Jacoby Brissett in a completely different offense. They can mesh all that stuff together with Cam, and they love their versatility. The thing is with Tom Brady, you have to run a certain type of offense for his skill set and where he is from an age perspective, and also what Tom wants to do, right? Because he's Tom freaking Brady. And that's what you're going to have to see with Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich in Tampa Bay is how they adjust to Tom Brady and what type of – because they can't do the whole Jameis, Carson Palmer, just throw the ball 50 yards down the field every other play. They want to attack even when Arians had Ben Roethlisberger or Andrew Luck. He's had all these big arm quarterbacks. He's going to have to let Tom Brady be that surgical guy, and Mike Evans and Godwin, all those guys are gonna have to adjust. That's why they convinced Gronkowski to come out of retirement to help him with that. So it's gonna be very, very interesting. Latrell McCutcheon, who's from here in Austin. Correct me if I'm wrong. He went to what high school did he go to, King? He went to LBJ. I forgot. He's from here in Austin. OU commit at corner. Probably one or two corner in the state. So it's tough because we were never really on his radar. He came to like one Texas camp over the last couple of years. It was very clear that we were never in his scope, I should say. Now, I do think that we've kind of, from a hit for a Texas standpoint, because it's always tough when kids leave the Central Texas area, especially in Austin, and go elsewhere, like McCutcheon just did. But the same token, getting a Barron from Conley does kind of soften that, because that was unexpected, right? Like he was already at Baylor, so getting Barron over to fill in that part of the room does help. I'm just excited about our young DBs from a Texas standpoint. Look, good programs like Oklahoma are going to get their share, even in our backyard. Period.
Yep.
Ohio State as well. All the normal players we go against. LSU comes here and recruits as well. Alabama comes here and recruits. Yep. So
Arkansas is making their way in here.
We're never going to get every single dominant player that comes out of Austin. McCutcheon's a big one. We're going to have to deal with him. However, having all the DBs that we're assembling, including the ones that are on the roster right now that haven't really gotten their chance to shine yet, like, I know I'm excited about Kenyatta Watson and what his skill set's going to be. We're just scratching the surface there. So over the next 4 years, with we've talked about Johnson's recruitment out of California, if that holds up, you know what I'm saying? So all these guys, Ibrahim, all these guys coming in, I like the folks that were stacking up on top of each other in the class. Somebody mentioned Keaton Crawford potentially being a player this season earlier in the chat. I saw that. So, overall, I think the upside for Texas in the DB room, the future is very bright.
Tracy, yes, I've been able to work out. I have a little gym in my garage.
To answer Tracy's other question about impact on defense, I've been saying Alfred Collins. I'm not going to move off of that. No reason to. I just like what he's going to bring to the table, and especially now that, I know Vernon Broughton and some of the other guys came in for the early part, but all of that's been nullified by COVID. I just think what Alfred Collins can bring to the table will give us a completely different look than anybody else on our defensive line. Even from an interior pressure, I don't know how guards are going to be able to deal with his athleticism personally, especially on pass rushing situations. So Alfred Collins would be my guy. Tyler Owens, I'm curious to see where he plays in this new scheme. Where they have him.
I still think he's a backup safety. If Overshown's gone, maybe he might slide over into the Overshown spot. So, his experience right now, he's still raw, but he has all the physical tools to be a beast.
Chris Brown might be the most underrated player on the whole defense.
He had the horns down his commitment picture.
Oh, he's talking about McCutcheon. So McCutcheon and Caleb Williams. That's a good point. I do want to address, a lot of people talking about the horns down, those type of guys. I've always said, I'm sorry, I was reading the thing, but I've always said with those guys, they're doing it for the fans and whatnot. I'm curious if they know what OU's hand sign is. It's funny how they know what they know horns down, but do they know what OU's hand sign is? Like,
isn't it just one?
I think it's just the one. Yeah, but and if they did that in their thing, I didn't watch any of their. All I see is they committed to Oklahoma as expected. I move on. I didn't.
Personally, it doesn't bother me at all. It's like, first of all, I mean, they are a legitimate rival.
Yeah.
There are. I mean, A&M's a rival, but
I agree. I don't
it's so
care.
one-sided that it's at least it's a little bit more even between OU and Texas. So I mean, I don't really care. It's just two fan bases going back and forth.
The only thing I will say though to that, I don't care about the players doing it or whatever. Thank you. It's free pub for Texas. What I will say is this though. There's been a lot of so Texas, for example, Texas football has been doing a great job. Shout out to their social media marketing team. For those of you who aren't on Twitter or some of the other sites, every day they're posting content of the players and promoting their players. By the way, other schools are doing the exact same thing, right? But if you notice, every single time they post Texas one, OU fans love to flood the comments, right? Flood them. And so I started clicking on some of these people. And if you wake up in the morning and the first thought on your mind is to hate Texas more than to love your own school, you're a Texas fan. Period. You're a Texas. You just don't know it yet. If your first thought, like I personally, first of all, I don't follow like OU football on Twitter or whatever. I follow Texas content because I'm a Texas fan. I do follow certain OU people that cover OU.
Yeah.
The Brandon Drums of the world and RJ and folks out there that are ingrained with their team and and folks like that. But I'm saying like I don't go and follow like the school account and then go and talk trash on it. I don't have any I'm worried about Texas. You know what I mean? But it's interesting to me. I click on some of these people's profiles, do some, I put my investigative cap on, and all of their interactions are with Texas content. I'm like, where's you liking the Caleb Williams signing? Or you talking about Charleston Rambo? Why are you over here worried about Overshown? That had nothing to do with you. It's just very, very interesting how much energy particular fans put. Like, God forbid we ever post anything about Sam Ehlinger. They are there instantaneously, right? Like, they're the moment we post something about Sam Ehlinger, right? Spencer Rattler better. Black Party better. Like, we're just promoting. Like, I don't see Texas people. I understand all fans talk trash, but I don't see us flooding. Again, I don't know. Y'all correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but like, I don't see us like flooding them the way they do. I just think it's interesting. I'm not bothered by it, but I just started clicking people's profiles and I'm like, damn, all your interactions, bro, are with UT sites. When do you have time for OU? It's interesting. I agree. Sign of a good brand. Sign of a good brand. It's just stuff I pay attention to. That's all. No, I mean, like I said, I follow people that cover different teams. There's some guys. We got a lot of crap from Iowa State when we made our post game video, and we were really upset. And we got some crap from their the SB Nation Iowa State.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And now we're friends. Like they said they were calling us out. Remember that? And like now, like I follow all those guys. They're dope. Like, because I want to know more. Like when I go, I just follow them so I can know more about them, and they follow us to know more about Texas. But I'm not over here like when they post something about Brock Purdy.
Just talk trash. Sam Ehlinger is
better than Brock Purdy. Oh man, fans are.
Imagine if we did do that though.
Hey, some people just have fan trolling.
I don't have time to do that.
I have time to work. My time is invested in my teams.
Yeah, I don't have time for that.
No, I love RJ. I love all those guys. I follow. I'm not talking about them in particular. I'm talking about the fans that are out here just flooding the content.
A lot of Texas fans hate RJ because they have never seen his actual videos. They see the title, which can be misconstrued as clickbait, and they get pissed off at the titles a lot of the times. But he has really good content. especially about Texas stuff. I forgot someone asked about Bijan. Is he the real deal? He had a great breakdown of Bijan Robinson not too long ago. So if you wanna watch that, go. I mean, it's not. I think it was maybe a week ago he had it on. So I mean, he has really good content from a Texas perspective, not just OU perspective. Is Bushevsky a good punt? No, he's an okay punter. The sad thing is, like, I answered that really fast, is that I'm comparing him to his cousin, and that's the wrong
Nagar was a
thing to
better
do.
punter than him.
Yeah, and I'm just I hope he's been practicing. You know,
I hope so too.
Yeah,
we need
but
that bump. We need that bump from the punter
that
because
helps out a lot.
the Michael Dixon difference was enormous, and yeah, he's probably the greatest punter we will ever see in our lifetime at the school. I don't know if you can kick the ball better than he did his last 2 years at Texas, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But Nagar at least was comp. There were times where Bushevsky was shankopotamus. Let's just be honest. And I'm not trying to down the kid because he had moments where he did show us some stuff. So I was like, okay, like you're not bad. It's just the consistency isn't there. But then Nagar came in and was kicking the ball just fine. So I'm like, you know, that's where the special teams aspect here and having a whole bunch of people on the staff now that are special teams experts. I don't think like you just won't have a job for 4 or 5 weeks without us evaluating some things, you know, whether it's the kick return aspect, whether it's kick coverage. You know, we opened the game. I'll never forget 2 years ago, we opened the game and we kicked the ball out of bounds against Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Right. And that started that first quarter onslaught against them. Like just little stuff like that can be buttoned up. I think it's very, very important.
So David, I think there's a lot of frustrating losses. Iowa State was definitely frustrating because we should have won that game. TCU, we just didn't show up. OU, we didn't show up. It didn't seem like. Then Baylor, it was just like we shouldn't have even been on the field with them. And Baylor may be the better team last year, but they did not face like the real Texas team that should have been playing. So, I mean, I think everyone but the LSU loss was really frustrating in my eyes.
I feel like we were defeated by the time we played Baylor too.
Yeah.
Mentally.
But still, we were still playing for a spot in the Big 12 championship, and we didn't even show up. They came in, smacked us in the face. We didn't deserve to be on the field with them.
I think the remedy for Deshaun Jameson as a perm returner, we saw that in the bowl game. They made some adjustments there, and I think that's of Andre Coleman's doing because he was an ace punt return or kick returner, even in the NFL. So our return game, and he came over from Kansas State where he learned a thing or two, and they've always been really good punt kick return. So I do think for Deshaun Jameson, that's why I think he can finish first team all Big 12 as a punt returner because Dylan Stoner, yeah, he's really good and effective, but he doesn't have that burst that Jameson does where he hits a crease. Jameson's one of the fastest people in the country.
Yeah, he seems like Dylan Stoner seems like he's a just punt safe. Charlie Strong, I think, is a consultant at Alabama. No?
Yeah, analyst, I believe.
Yeah, he's getting paid from Texas and USF. So yeah, he's just getting paid. Yeah.
No, guys, RJ's good people, man. I really do like. I as a person, I really do like him, and he works. He's the hardest working YouTuber I know. So I always show love to RJ any chance I get. I had called him out before on some OU Texas stuff, you know, and him playing that game sometimes, but he's on his stuff from a college football perspective, 100%.
What's the lack of development?
I want to answer Nathan's question.
Okay, you got it.
That's why all the coaches got fired.
Yep. Simple.
That's the answer to your question, Nathan. That's why all the coaches got fired.
I mean, he legitimately said that he said, hey, if you're on campus for the University of Texas and you can't play the ball, you know, it's a coaching problem, not a player problem. So,
like Owens it's tough because how quickly you were going to ramp him up. And I said, because he wasn't an early enrollee, and they had a lot of, to start the season, they had a lot of people in front of him. So realistically, he was only going to play specials, and what else was he going to do? Chris Adamore, though, did know what he was doing when they did throw him in there. Some people didn't, some people did. But Kenyatta Watson not playing when he should have been playing earlier, I never understood. And so there were some things also where they were playing around with people's snaps. But at the end of the day, the relationship issues that they started to have, somebody mentioned Drew Maringer earlier, that was a problem in the locker room. And so when you have those type of issues going on, the development's not happening like it should be on a week-to-week basis in practice, right? Because in practice is where you should be making those leaps. Even now that you have that 4-game window for people's red shirts that they can still play. So I think Tom Herman, as much as anything, wanted to get back to, guys, we have to be able to develop these younger guys quicker, because you look around the country, Garrett Wilson was playing in the playoffs, and I know he's a 5-star.
He's played in the national championship. He played
against Clemson.
Yeah.
But in the semifinal.
But
there were people all over, even in the LSU versus Clemson game. There were freshmen out there. So these teams are figuring something out to get people ramped up faster. All right. And half of it, again, going back to something we were talking about with Jake Smith, playing with confidence so you can play fast when you're out there. Even if your assignments are limited. Hey, when you're out there, we may only be able to call these 10 coverages or run these 10 plays. But you're so good that we can do that. We can get away with that for right now. But we haven't even been able to do that at Texas. We just kick them to the curb, or if they get out there, they're deer in headlights. Mm-hmm. So not everybody, because Roschon Johnson was prepared.
Yep.
Right. And there were certain people that were prepared. So the development issue is not necessarily all the way across the board, and it's doom and gloom as I may be sounding right now. But as we've seen at the elite programs, there's some of these kids that are now coming in that are able to rock and roll. And Tom Herman has been harping on that big time this offseason. So big time point of emphasis for this team. Oh, we're over 2 hours. I think we're going to wrap up here. It's 10:30. So appreciate everybody jumping on. Unless there's anything else y'all want us to touch on here in the chat. If UT was located in Dallas, they're significant. I mean, that hasn't been an issue before. Oklahoma and Utah. I mean, Oklahoma is like maybe a couple miles closer to Dallas, and they recruit there just fine. We have coaches on our staff like a Jay Valai that are actually from that area. Jay Bulware knows that area very inside and out. We have the connections there. Dallas Fort Worth area, for those who don't know, that's where everybody recruits. And when I say everybody, I'm talking about from a national perspective. Look at the offers that are going out. If you're not talking to kids at Duncanville, you're not in business. Look at Savion Byrd and all these guys, right? So, I mean, that area, Houston, just East Texas, right? Like, you're going to have people all over the place recruiting. There's enough there for Texas to eat. There's enough there for all these teams to eat. The problem is there were years before, whether it was Charlie Strong, into Mac Brown, whatever period you want to go back to, where Texas wasn't even getting their piece of the pie.
Yeah.
In that area. That's a problem, right? So, when we went up there and got a Jaquindon Jackson. When need to all DFW everything, right? I was pissed that we didn't get my man that went to Missouri, but overall, like I'm encouraged. Now Quinn Ayers is up there, Kamara Wheaton's up there. Like, there's elite players that are 5-star guys that we have to go and get, right, and that are up in the area. But that area is always going to have elite guys. Thank you guys for coming through. We're still 80 here strong. I don't have a stadium update status. I did see
They
that
have
Chris Del Conte shared a video.
live camera on there, don't they, on their website? To find the updates
on the Texas Sports website.
Yeah, Texas. I think they used to. I don't know if they still do, but
Nathan, I think tight ends are going to be the most underrated part of these of the season, of the position groups. Hopefully we can start. Now we're going to end the way we started. Hopefully COVID doesn't. We're responsible. Hopefully we're responsible there, and they can get to a point where if we start football, we don't have to stop it. That's all. When we start, we start. That's all. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Tracy said yes, they have a webcam. All right, Tran, anything else you want to touch on, bro? I think we're getting ready to wrap. I know I keep saying that, but everybody keeps asking questions.
Brock Myers are right now currently leaning towards Alabama, but I mean, their dad was a legend here, brothers here, we're right here. I'm hoping towards the end of the year they just flip and just say, "Hey, yeah, we're going to Texas." What's up?
If y'all have a couple minutes, I actually want to do a quick exercise here that I can bring up.
Let's do it.
Let me bring up. Hey, what's up? All right, I'm getting ready to.
Nathan, it all depends on how Cosme plays this year. If Cosme plays really well and we get him drafted really high, I think it's with them being legacies. I think it'd be really hard for them to deny us. But it really all depends. I'm hearing that they're liking Alabama right now. What's the exercise you want to do?
No, I was just looking at some of the players here. So if I share my screen real quick. This is just on the 24/7. So the Brockermeyer thing, right? As y'all can see, that's at the top of the list. And Sanders on here already has his 5th star. Billy Bowman will eventually get his 5th star. I have no doubt about that as well. I said this before. Billy Bowman had the best tape of anybody I'd seen.
Beast.
Of anybody I'd seen the last like 2 or 3 years. So Billy Bowman will be there. The thing with Brockmeyer and his brother, right? James, who plays center. We have to win. If we build it, they will come. Period. And it's just the credit. The only reason why they're looking at teams like Alabama and before it was Clemson, right? It's just at the end of the day, if you're ranked this high, right? You guys see this? He's the #1 tackle, #5 in the country overall as a prospect. If you're ranked that high, if I maintain where I'm currently at, I should be a 1st-round pick. And what has Texas had a problem with? And yes, picks. People will say legacy and his brothers on and the brothers on the team, and we just gave him scholarship, all that. Bro, when you have an elite player like that, you have to be very, very careful with. I want to send them to a place where I know that they will maximize that to get to the next level. So,
and that's why I said if they win and Sam Cosme goes high and he balls out, I mean it's going to be really hard for them to turn us down.
So, I mean,
can you scroll down a little bit? So it just has the commits.
Yeah, so these guys, these are just commits. But if you look over here, Kamar Wheaton, this this is right here. We got to do something about this. All right. I don't know who's in the lead for his services. Yeah, so us, SMU, LSU, OU. Those of you up there in the area that know a lot more about Kamar Wheaton, please chime in with where you guys think we're at there. Now, if we go down, Savion Bird's on here.
Right there.
This is, to me, this is must have, because this guy here, Bryce Foster from Katy, I think he's going to go to OU.
Yep.
Because Caleb Williams and these guys are out here recruiting. That's the other thing. Now that the quarterback has gone to OU, we got our quarterback out here recruiting, and OU has their quarterback out recruiting. The first thing he said, he's going to go get some of these guys, right? So these are all things we got to pay attention to. I think Savion Bird right now is a Texas lean. Let's see. Well, they have him warm over here, but with the recent connections we've had there, I know we did miss out on Thompson, who went to Auburn, but we got Jaquinta Jackson.
Yep.
So that's
the guy he blocked for.
Right. So that's one I hope. I just wanted to show this real quick though. If there's anybody else on here that I'm missing, some of these were cool on and by ranking. That's so that's the other thing too, right? With COVID and there not being as many camps and all the exposure for these guys, evaluations are paramount, because I've seen people on Twitter bashing some of the 3-star guys we've been offering, or bashing somebody and saying, oh, why are we getting fired up over this, all this type of stuff. None of that counts, especially this year, because it's really going to be about somebody said Savion Bird is SMU bound. Okay. Or SMU lean, because he's not committed, but especially with people not having, you can't go up and down with like everybody's just making their evaluations off of junior tape. Let's just be real. And so you have these guys that every senior year somebody gets another 2 or 3 inches, or somebody just puts it all together, or the person in front of them graduated and now it's their time to break out. And we may or may not get that this year. So evaluations are really, really critical on all these kids. And so just because somebody is getting handed an offer that's 3 stars, like, and I see a lot of people out here poo-pooing that, I think that's a mistake. I trust this staff, from a qualification standpoint of the guys they're bringing in and what they're trying to do. Now, it's not an excuse to not be landing some of the top guys. I know I hear what y'all are saying about Savion Bird, but I want to be in that mix for him. But at the same token, it's going to be interesting. Oh yeah, DeMarco Murray being on the joining the OU. He's the running back coach now, I believe. That's going to be evals by recruiting sites at this point. They can't see the kids right now. Just like I don't think people realize the difference between some of these kids when you see them at a junior camp, or like a junior camp. When I say junior camp, I mean like your sophomore going into your junior year, and you see the kid, right? And then now a lot of them junior going into their senior year, they can't see the kid.
So like, there's a difference. Why can't they do the camp still and just?
No, they are doing. There's some camps that are going up, but it's not the normal volume of activity going.
I know they usually have one every other weekend.
You normally have satellite camps all over the place.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're still out there seeing the kids, but it's not the same as it was before, is what I'm saying. And then we may or may not have football. That's going to affect recruiting as well.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be huge.
So I'm going to stop sharing. All right. We are for real going to wrap this time, because I'm getting tired and I have not eaten dinner. So.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. A little too late. Guys, I really appreciate it. And I'm just reading the last few comments. I agree, guys. This went. Memphis landed a commit from. We ain't gonna get everybody. Hey man, SMU got Preston Stone.
Yeah.
You know, SMU. Hey, SMU's not playing around, especially with Coach Samples up there.
When they start allowing them to make money off of likeness rights, you know they're gonna be back.
Oh man, that Mustang money is different up there, man.
Yep. They can't take any more money. Okay, don't worry about it. We'll just give them a new car.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys. Really, 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 really appreciate y'all so much. And you know, like I said, you guys are always welcome to hit me on, you know, email. I know Nathan, you know, Tracy, you guys do a great job of keeping in touch throughout the week. So y'all make sure y'all hitting us up. Those of you who sent Tran and I emails, you know, we really appreciate it and that interaction. You know, it means a lot to us as we try to grow this platform. All we ask is that you share with your friends and you know, help us grow. You know, right now it is a challenge for content a little bit because we're not quite sure. We'll get into our own personal preview stuff of how we think you know, position groups will break down, and we'll have videos
Just want to make sure we have a season first.
Yeah, about those things. But right now, you know, we are kind of reactionary to a lot of this stuff, just is what it is. But Tran, thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you, everyone,
Guys,
for jumping on. 80 still.
Horns always up. Peace.